for all of us who've been so well brought up and we're all so bloody polite all the time, Americans particularly, to see someone being rude. It's bliss, isn't it? I think we act quite a lot of the time in sort of conflict with what we really feel.
That's the stupid thing to say.
Yeah? How much did we enjoy that? We loved that.
So rude to celebrate rudeness.
We can carry on like this for a long, long time.
Scott, go ahead. Breadcrumbs that you used to follow the trail, like the essence of who these people were, rather than to try to do imitations, that sort of thing.
There's a bit of a vocal cadence and a rhythm that Mr. Disney had. It took a while to figure out. But a lot of the little anecdotes we found specifically from the likes of Richard Sherman, and were already in the play, in the screenplay. For example, like Walt's cough. Walt smoked 3 packs a day, and Richard Sherman, and was in the screenplay as well, is that you knew, he said, you always knew when Walt was coming to visit your office because you could hear him coughing, from down by the elevator. So you're able to put that kind of stuff into it, and it just ends up being, one of the delightful cards in the deck.
Emma, for you?
I like that you use breadcrumbs. Because I think it makes me think of Theseus and the Minotaur, and the fact that P.L. Travers was so fascinated with myth and was a searcher all her life. So it was very breadcrumbing, my search for her. She went everywhere you can imagine. She was like going into a maze. And round some corners you'd find this terrible monster, and round another corner you'd find a sort of beaten child. So she was the most extraordinary combination of things. And I suppose that was the scary thing, because in films, I don't know whether my colleagues would agree, but we often get to play people who are emotionally or at least morally consistent in some way. And she wasn't consistent in any way. So you would not know what you would get from one moment to the next. So that you could have had a very close moment with her on one day. And I got this from her friends. And then the next day they might have gone to see her and she would have treated them as if... It's like that moment that Kelly created and invented with Paul Giamatti's character, when she says, you're the only American I've ever liked. And he says, oh really, how fascinating, why? Will you tell me why? She says, no. I don't want to tell you any more about that. Now you're just asking too much. Go away.
Hey, you know what you do with breadcrumbs, don't you? You feed the birds, the birds, the birds, the birds, the birds, the
My question is for Colin. Your rapport with little Annie Rose Buckley is genuinely beautiful. How did you go about creating that special bond with her?
Stick. Alternated with sugar cubes, which I got from the horse trainer. No, she was just a dream, Annie, to be around. I mean, people say you shouldn't work with children or animals, but you must only work with children because you work 8 hours a day. She was a dream. She, from what I could tell, she didn't exude ambition, and sometimes kids do, of course, and which is not to say she's not ambitious, and that would be fine if she was, but she didn't exude ambition, and she didn't seem to be too fazed by any of it. She was just a really, really sweet presence to be around, and to see how beautiful and open her face was on the monitor, and just in being around her was kind of like, it was the most exquisite of canvases upon which the later life of P.L. Travers was born, as she witnessed what her father was putting himself through, thereby putting everyone else in the family through as well. I mean, I have to accept some responsibility for the emotional inconsistency of P.L. Travers. I think probably the apple fell a little bit close to the stump.
P.L. Travers made it very clear in the film when she thought of Disney's Mary Poppins. Well, how do you think she would have responded to saving Mr. Banks? Silently.
Yeah.
Too much?
You know think, I've been asked this question a few times, and I reckon this is a woman who kept on saying, I don't want anything, I don't want a biography, I don't want anything like that, I don't want anyone to know anything about me. Meanwhile, she kept everything she wrote and sent it for the archives at Brisbane University. So she felt, I'm certain, that she was an important contributor to the artistic, to the culture, and wanted, I think, to have it preserved. And I think that's what she would say about this. It is absolutely ridiculous film. I have no relationship whatsoever to what was happening, but you know, it's about me. And at last, and I thought that the clothes were rather
about the challenges of playing such iconic characters, research you did, talking to people that knew them, and how that helped you inform your performances.
There's a lot of anecdotal information that kept coming to us. There were people who knew Walt, and they still have access to the studio because I think they still have their cards that let them on stage. They searched us out. Richard Sherman was a never-ending, literally never-ending fountain of stories, of facts, of anecdotes, of bits and pieces of everything that had happened. And Diane Disney Miller, his daughter, gave me unlimited access to the archives in the museum in San Francisco. Made a couple of visits there, so I had a lot of video and audio that I could work with. Which the only handicap there was a lot of it is Walt Disney playing Walt Disney. But even in some of that and plenty of others, there's a notion of cadence to the man, and that true sense that he had he believed everything that he said about his projects. He completely embraced the possibilities of wonder in the movies that he was going to make, as well as the rides he was going to come up with, and the things that he was going to build. So I had a great roadmap in order to search it out.
It must have occurred to you this is your second saving movie. You're a funny guy. Did you have any thoughts on that? And will you do a third saving movie?
I like to think of it as a trilogy. There's got to be some era of history that we can explore. It seems to be moving forward. I'd like to play Saving John DeLorean. I have no idea. John DeLorean invented the car. Okay, never mind. I got nothing. I did my best.
You have two grandchildren.
Yes.
And that is the Mr. Banks side of you that we don't know. So, do you take them to Disneyland, for example? What is like to be Tom Hanks as a grandfather?
We did go. I have taken them to Disneyland on the day that we shot in Disneyland. They came, and an interesting thing happens as a grandparent. You see no reason whatsoever that your granddaughter shouldn't be delighted to take a ride on the Winnie the Pooh adventure. It's Winnie the Pooh. It's fun. It's Pooh Bear. It's Kangaroo and Owl. It's Christopher Robin. It's going to be a blast. She's going to remember this the rest of her life. Her ride on Winnie the Pooh's Great Adventure. My granddaughter was terrified by the noise, the big spinning bears. She will now be haunted for the rest of her days by this first image of Winnie the Pooh in a loud, short, herky-jerky ride that her grandfather forced her to do on the day he played Walt Disney in Disneyland. That is just a sample of the fantastic job I do as a grandfather. Thank you.
Listening to you before making this film.
Jason Swart.
Well, it meant a lot to me, this movie, growing up. I saw it a lot of times, and in fact, I knew most all the songs from the movie. In fact, that's what I remembered the most, I think. It's funny just how much, when you're a little, movie and things can affect you. And when I got the part of the movie and I started looking through archives and photos, and you'd see all these behind the scenes snapshots of the movie being made, and it was only then that it occurred to me that it was shot in Burbank, because I experienced it as a young person, thinking it was in England, and it was only recently that I realized that it was all made up. That's how deep into my body it had gone, and how much I believed that it was all real. And in many ways, like, I wish I hadn't ever seen those photos. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to see Jaws. You know, Jaws is like there's photos of guys smoking cigarettes by Jaws. I wish I had never seen those photos. And I wish I had never seen, you know, Cherry Tree Lane on Burbank Boulevard. Because it's deep in my, so it means a lot to me, this movie. I love it very much.
We talked last night about this because I thought I had seen Mary Poppins. I knew all the songs, I knew the characters, I absorbed it without ever having seen it. I didn't realize that till we all went to your house and watched it, and I realized there were so many scenes and complicated and dark shadings and directions that I had never associated with that film. It's the film itself is so much odder than we remember, and so much more complicated, let alone the story of the film and, you know, the context of it. So it was something for me. We talked about this, all these Disney films, they feel like they're in your DNA. Growing up, these songs, the Sherman Brothers songs especially, you just feel they just came from heaven fully formed. It's so interesting to see that people, we went to the archives and saw drafts with different lyrics and different script pages, and it's so odd to think that this ever could have been any different. And that was so interesting about making this movie, seeing all the drafts, let alone the scenes that I had never even known were there.
This is for Emma. One of my readers is a really big fan of yours and wanted me to ask you if there is a possibility of yet another Nanny McPhee movie.
The second one, we had a lovely time making it, and it went down very well in my country, and I came here, I've just told this story to Tom, and we came here and we did what we're all doing now, which is sort of a big Gold 2-week tour of all the states, and it was just wonderful, because I'd never been to many of the states, and everybody was very enthusiastic, and the film played beautifully, and I got to the end of the tour, and I was pretty tired, you know, and I was on my way home. I was in New York, just packing my bags, literally packing my bag to go home. Phone rang. I said, "Oh, hello. How's it going?" It was an opening weekend. Well, I said, "What? Well, it's, you know, the box office. It's not as good as we wanted it to be." I said, "Okay. What do you mean?" We projected, this is what happens these days, okay, just so as you know, we projected that it would take $14 million, it only took 9.7. I said, I don't understand what that means. I go, gosh, $9.7 million for, I mean, that seems like quite a lot of money, really. But anyway, you seem to be suicidal. So I'd better take that as evidence that there won't be another one. And that's how it works. So it doesn't matter how good the movie is, it doesn't matter, what matters is what it takes during the opening weekend. So, you know, you guys should know that, because it's slightly distressing sometimes.
I am hoping to make Saving Nanny McPhee. The way I count it, 6 birds with 1 stone. 3,